G'day Facebook, another Media Theology live video for today, and today I thought I would jump more into a practical kind of but theological kind of thought around social media and the church. So I've titled this one, Should My Church or Our Church Be on Social Media? Now, kind of doing a bit of a switcheroo with this in some ways. It's kind of titled it this way to try and gauge a bit of interest and see whether people think, oh, that's a good thing I'd wonder about, should my church or our church, particularly pastors or church leaders and things like that, start to think, well, should we have a presence on social media? But why I say a little bit of a switcheroo or whatever is because I think in some ways we've missed already that the majority of the church, the local church that you're a part of, is already on social media. Because, when we look at the Bible, the church isn't an institution or an organization or, an incorporated body or any of those things that churches in a modern society inevitably often become. Not all, of course, but a lot find that's where they end up. Then we start to think of the church organisationally in a lot of the times we use that language and we speak about the church. So I guess the bigger question is, how do we as church leaders engage with the fact that the majority of our church, or, not to sort of say our as if it belongs to us, but the churches that we're leading or involved in pastoring or those kind of things, how do we engage as the organisational church, as pastors, as leaders, as individuals, when the reality is majority of our church, i.e. the people that make up the local gathering that meet together, which is what the church is, the body of Christ and all those sorts of things, how do we engage in that space? Now, I think that's a much more difficult question to wrestle with. I don't think there's any one definitive answer in this space. I think there's a lot of different ways you can look at this. So, from an organisational perspective of the church, certainly you could go down the path of thinking, well, let's use social media sort of like a business would. In which case you're using it as part of your sort of digital marketing, part of getting events out there, getting, inspirational quotes or whatever you might do, maybe pushing sermons out or whatever it might be. So, that's one way to look at it. The challenge with that is that it reinforces that organisational business nature of the church in that instance. So it becomes very difficult for it to be a sort of social mechanism, using the strengths of social media to be a social mechanism. Then, of course, you have issues around public information and things like that. So I know of some churches who, are more inclined to set up closed groups, and so their presence on Facebook isn't a public broadcast or marketing or from a business perspective, but is much more as a closed group social perspective. So people who have things they might like prayer about or issues they're facing, those kind of things can engage in a social environment in that space and feel somewhat comfortable that they're not broadcasting that information to the entire world, but they're making it available to their church body in a way that social media allows them to. I think some of the challenges that we face as leaders in particular is if we become, and I've written about this before, but if we become quite voyeuristic with our Facebook usage, so if we're kind of, or social media, not just Facebook, we're talking across a lot of platforms, but if we're sort of on there, but we're not really on there, so we've got an account and we kind of look at what people are doing and look through our news feed as people do, but we never engage, we never comment, we never like, or we seldom engage, we seldom comment, we seldom like, we seldom share people's posts and those kind of things, then it's kind of like we're an invisible presence in that space. And so if you then see something that you kind of think, there's a real pastoral issue that I would like to have some input into, even if you were to raise that in a face-to-face context with a person, if you've not been engaging with them in the social platform, they're kind of probably going to scratch their heads and think, how does this person even know about this situation? Because, you've not been liking, you've not been commenting, so you're not front of mind for that person, that you're actually in their social space. And then you risk them feeling somewhat invaded, that their privacy has been invaded, because you've kind of been, it's like you've been on there watching them and watching what they're doing, and it could be seen that you're waiting for the opportunity to kind of jump on something that's a pastoral situation, and they might kind of think, well, hang on, why have you just jumped on something now? And that's not to say it's just a negative pastoral kind of situation. It may even be a positive situation where you're trying to do something positive for someone. It may leave them kind of scratching their heads thinking, this person's never engaged with me in this social space, but obviously they've been watching me. Why are they watching me? What's their motives, and how come they're kind of watching me but not engaging? So I think that's something worth you having a think about in the way that you use your social media, if you're in the church, if you're a pastoral leader, or any of those kind of things. I think it's important that you do recognise that social media platforms are designed to enhance and extend the ability for us to have social interactions beyond the face-to-face, geographically in the same space kind of interaction. So they're not false interactions. That comment that says, "Hey, great job on that," it's seen as a comment. It's a real positive for someone. They go, "Wow, this person's seen this thing that's happened for me, and they want to congratulate me on it." And they're not just waiting till the next time they see me. They've actually jumped in and they've done it right then and there because they want to congratulate me. So that's what I want to share on that. I'd love to hear any questions that maybe raises for you, or any thoughts you may have on that, or anything you think, there's maybe a thread that you'd like me to explore further. But the reality is your church is already on social media. And the question that you need to face as a leader, if you're a leader, is how do you engage with that situation? Both as a church, both from the perspective of the organisational sense of the church, but also yourself as a leader in that circumstance. So, if your pastor's not already liked this page, why not tag them below, so they can have a listen to this and have a bit of a think about this themselves, something for you to open a conversation with them about. And I look forward to hearing from you, or your comments, or, again, if you want to hear me speak, give my 2 cents on something, a movie, a film, film, same thing, I've said that before, book, music, some creative output that you'd like me to make a comment on, I'm more than happy to do that. And I hope you enjoy your Friday and have a great weekend. And I'll be broadcasting again tomorrow, so I look forward to that. All right, have a great night. See ya.